You know, sometimes you hear a story and you're thinking, there's no way that happened. It's just too far-fetched. Well, this is one of those stories, only it did happen, and it happened on May 2nd, 1981, right here in Savannah, Georgia. We're talking about midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil and Mr. Danny Hansford. On May 2nd, 1981, an incident occurred at 429 Bull Street here in Savannah, an incident that on the surface just seemed like so many others across the nation. Someone gets killed, be it by murder or self-defense, but what makes this incident different from all the rest is the fact that a book and a movie were made about it. The novel and motion picture was indeed about the killing of Danny Hansford, or Billy Hanson in the novel, but it brought to light the city of Savannah with its unmatched beauty, character, and its more than colorful, vibrant, and eccentric characters. In the book and motion pictures, the characters who, on the surface, couldn't possibly be real, or so many of them in one location. That's where you would be sadly mistaken. The characters in both the novel and the movie are quite real, and today, we're going to explore them. Thank you for coming to Keeping History on Two Wheels. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. It's the little red button right over here. Don't forget to hit that bell so that you'll be notified whenever we do an upload. The premise of both the novel by John Berendt and the movie directed by Clint Eastwood is of the 1981 killing of Danny Hansford and the subsequent trial that followed. In both, a writer named John Kelso came to town to write a small column about the socialite Jim Williams and his famous Christmas parties. Scheduled to leave the next day, but ends up staying and writing a book about the shooting and the trial. But more than that, the book explores the many colorful characters that make up the tapestry of Savannah. The character of Billy Hansford was a male escort, hustler, drug dealer, and sometimes employee and lover of Jim Williams. He was said to be of short temper and definitely not of high social standings. The actual person was Danny Lewis Hansford. The movie pretty much got his character correct. Danny was definitely no stranger to the county jail. Mandy Nichols was the love interest of Joe Kelso, the writer. She was also the business partner and flame for Joe Odom. The character was based off of Nancy Hillis, who passed away in August of 2016 from ALS at 67 years old. She was indeed Joe Odom's business partner, but that was the extent of their relationship, as Joe was gay. Attorney turned con man and club owner Joe Odom was portrayed as the love interest of Nancy Hillis' character Mandy. But like I said, that was incorrect. They were friends, and he died in Nancy's house, the Hamilton Turner House, on November 2nd, 1991, with complications of AIDS at 43 years old. Jim Williams' attorney, Sonny Saylor, defended Jim throughout his 4 cases. He was Jim's friend. Although he didn't play himself in the movie, he was in the courtroom. He played Judge White. Sonny is the owner of the Georgia Bulldogs mascot, Uga, and is now a retired attorney, but still an active member of his firm, a firm I've had the pleasure of doing investigative work for. The firm building in the movie is the actual law firm. Sonny liked Minerva, Minerva was Jim's root lady, or hoodoo priestess. Believe it or not, hoodoo is still active in the coastal islands and practiced by the Gullah Nation. She didn't play herself, but was a central character in both the book and the movie. Minerva was actually a friend of Jim's, and he sought her help in his case. We are in the process of doing an episode on her specifically. Minerva called cemeteries gardens, and it was her explanation to John Berendt about the correct times to do hoodoo incantations that gave rise to the name of the book, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. According to Sonny, the character of Jim Williams, as portrayed in the book and the movies, was pretty much spot on. Jim was born in Gordon, Georgia. Williams was a noted Savannah, Georgia antiques dealer and historic preservationist who played an active role in the preservation of Savannah's historic district. In 1955, at the age of 24, he bought and restored his first 3 houses located in Savannah. And over the next 35 years, he would restore more than 50 homes in Savannah as well as the Low Country. It's an interesting coincidence that Williams had a great-great-grandmother by the maiden name of Martha Ann Mercer, though it is unclear if there is any connection, even remotely, to General Hugh Mercer. In 1969, Williams purchased a home originally built for General Mercer, the great-grandfather of famed American songwriter Johnny Mercer. At the time of the purchase, the house had been vacant for almost a decade since its former occupants. And over the course of 2 years, Williams painstakingly restored the house. After the restoration, it became his personal residence, and he ran his antiques restoration business out of the carriage house located behind the mansion. Williams was arrested in 1981 for the shooting death of Danny Hansford, with whom he had had a sexual relationship. After the subsequent 4 trials, Williams was finally acquitted by a jury in Augusta, Georgia in 1989. Sonny Sealer assumed Williams' defense at the second trial and decided to have Williams openly bring up his sexuality. Other than that, little else differed from the first trial. The Georgia Supreme Court overturned the conviction, saying the sheriff should not have been allowed to testify as an expert and that the prosecutor waited until his closing argument to demonstrate some evidence. New evidence at the third trial showed the victim's hands were not bagged by the police at the crime scene, a possible explanation for the lack of gunpowder residue. During deliberations, a juror supposedly called a paramedic to ask some medical questions, though it could not be proven. After 2 deliberations, the jury still had not reached a verdict. One woman admittedly insisted she saw reasonable doubt and would not alter her verdict. With an 11-1 jurors in favor of a guilty verdict, it was declared a hung jury and resulted in a mistrial. The 4th trial began 2 years later with a change of venue to Augusta, Georgia. The jury took 1 hour to come back with a verdict of not guilty. Williams is the only person in the state of Georgia history to have suffered 4 trials for the same murder. On January 14, 1990, 6 months after the trial, Williams died unexpectedly in his home at the age of 59 from pneumonia and heart failure. Reportedly, Williams fell dead in the same spot where he would have fallen 8 years earlier had Danny Hansford actually fired the gun and shot him. Other sources state he died in the foyer outside of the office where Danny Hansford was shot. Williams was buried next to his mother, Blanche Brooks Williams, in Ramah Church Cemetery, located in Gordon, Georgia. Danny Lewis Hansford is buried at Greenwich Cemetery, Savannah, Georgia.